North Carolina is not unique in having added a lot more new crimes to the books. It just seems to have done so more than its neighbors. And when you look at the actual growth of these crimes over time, over the last 6 years, looking at new crimes that have been enacted by the General Assembly, reviewing all of those crimes, there have been 34 crimes a year added on average. 55% of those were outside the penal code, and almost half of those were felony crimes that were created in the state. So looking a little longer time horizon, over 25 years, the number of sections in the penal codes increased 25%, the number of words 76%. So again, most of us, when we're worried about crime, we're worried about those traditional crimes: rape, murder, assault, robbery. Those have been on the books for time immemorial. As long as there's been in North Carolina, those things have been crimes. These are all new crimes that are getting created, new specifications, and they tend to be very regulatory. Now, one area North Carolina has worked on that I want to give credit where credit's due is in the sentencing area. The Justice Reinvestment Act in 2011 worked on sentencing. I think that's a good money-saving issue, and I think getting your sentencing right makes sense. It doesn't make sense to put certain types of criminals, you want to lock them up and throw away the key. Other types of criminals, even if you want to send them to prison, you don't need to send them necessarily for a long period of time. So getting those right, I think, is useful. But looking at the charging pattern, what we found, the new crimes that were passed, we looked at the crimes that were passed in 2009 and 2010, and then what was charged in 2012. So we didn't want the very next year. It might be time to sort of adjust to these new crimes on the books. Then what's happening when those crimes come out a couple of years later. And what we found was 68% of all the new crimes enacted in 2009 and 2010 had 0 charges in 2012, and only 23% of all the new crimes were charged more than one time in 2012. Now, some of the new crimes were very actively charged. There were 2 crimes passed in 2009 and 2010 that were charged more than 100 times. That doesn't mean they're good crimes, but it means the prosecutors think they're crimes worth prosecuting, right? But most of these crimes are getting added to the books, and they're sitting on the books, and there's never a charge. And what that means is if you've got a prosecutor out there who wants to get a small business entrepreneur for something, there may be a crime on the books they could use, and it's just sort of sitting there, and it'd be hard for anyone to necessarily know without a team of lawyers if they're committing a crime to begin with.